Hello there. In this video, I'm going to cover some of the tactics and strategies in After Effects that should help you specifically when it comes to heavily nested projects or dense projects. I'm only going to cover 10 points in this video. If you find it helpful, if you find this to be useful, let me know and I'll make you another 10. But I'm going to focus on the very efficient and effective tips that you definitely need to keep in mind. The first one is layout. So one of the things that could really confuse you in After Effects is that sometimes you're just moving things around, and in a dense project, you could easily have the computer to be kind of cluttered and really running out of RAMs. And you may already know, but After Effects is terribly, terribly consuming for RAMs. So when the scene is lagging, you could accidentally be moving things around like this way, and then you could click on this part here, the composition, and you could like do things like that, and you're kind of lost. The other thing that I want you to also keep in mind is that if you click on the tilde on the keyboard, it would do things like that, meaning that it would go full screen on any menu that the mouse is hovering over, and that could completely throw you off. So the following should help you on just resetting everything. You go to Window, Workspace. You can go to the default, but if you click on the default here, look, nothing happens. And the reason for that is that After Effects is saying, well, this is the default. You're asking for the default and I'm giving you the default again. So nothing has changed. So if you want to stick to the default, but you want to just restart the whole thing, the whole layout with the default, you can go to Reset Default to save layout. Now, if I am happy with this, or maybe, you know what, I want to change some things, I want to add some menus, let me go to the window and go to brushes. So you have brushes here, okay? Now, if I go to window and then go to the workspace and then save changes to this workspace, save. Now it's saved. Now I'm gonna mess things up a little bit, and now it's pretty messed up. I'm gonna go here to workspace and then reset to saved layout, and there you go with the brushes. So that's about the layout. Next is going to be the menu here. So in some cases you have plenty of layers and you're just kind of overwhelmed with all of the materials that you have going on, and you just want to find out if this material here or this soundtrack is used, because if it's not, you just want to delete it, get rid of it, so you would clean things up a little bit. But you don't know, and then you gotta look for names and whatsoever. It's pretty annoying and time consuming. What can be helpful is this menu here. So for instance, if I go to this video here, it would show you used 17 times. That is one of the good uses of this menu here. The other one is, especially when it comes to editing or live action, one of the things that wouldn't necessarily be a problem normally, but it would be very helpful if you check it, and that is the frame rate per second. Sometimes you may accidentally forget to acknowledge that you may be working on different frame rates for different footage. So this is always important to kind of check. So this is just one video file, so there are no other video files to check. So I can check here the resolution and the frame rate and just making sure that it's exactly falling under the category that I need to work with. So as of now, some of these may seem kind of a little bit less useful, but again, I'm covering these things that I remember in some cases where it made a huge difference, or for instance, one mistake of missing one of the footage to be a separate or to be at a different frame rate, it could really destroy a lot of hours of your work. Point number 4, customizing your columns. What does that mean? So if you pull the menu here, you would see a lot more information in here. These are the columns of the information of your materials here. What you can do, let's say for instance, this here is comment. You don't really need it in most or in some projects. Right mouse button, hide this. The reason why this is helpful is because hiding some of these is going to help you within that short space to actually focus on what you really care about. For instance, the file type. You want to make sure like, I do have the wave format, so that's good. That's gonna keep me reminded that I have the right format. But certain things that are not really needed. On the other hand, you want to also adjust these columns in a way that you pick exactly what benefits you. So you click anywhere here on these columns, right mouse button, column, and then you can choose here exactly, oh, duration is very important for me. So now I know the duration of these tracks. Moving on to point number 5. So right here I have the sculpting video, but all of the others, these are audio tracks. But as you can see, it's kind of overwhelming the whole area here. I can simply select this one here at the bottom, go all the way to the top, shift select. Now I have selected all of them, then click and drag into the folder icon. And then I'm gonna name it now sound tracks. Now things are more organized. Okay, next up, something that I find to be useful. Okay, so I imported this video and I want to create a new composition, but I don't want to go and just click new composition, meaning clicking here. And then I would have to set up the resolution, the name, the frame rate, which you never want to miss, and the duration. And sometimes all you need is to just set something that works really well for a specific footage. Instead, you can simply just drag it onto this icon here. This way it's going to create a composition that has all the properties of that composition that you want to use. So for instance, if you have multiple of these videos and you want them all to abide by one of them, then I would start with this one here and import it. And then if I want to increase or decrease the duration, I would just hit Control K and then go here and change the duration. This is typically the main thing that I would need to change. Although I am big on shortcuts and hotkeys, this video is not going to focus on that. However, I want to show you something that is extremely important, again, for heavily nested project. Let's say you want to have all of these materials or all of these layers. You just want to animate the position. So normally when you select your materials, and let's say you want to just specifically animate the opacity or the position or scale, you click on the arrow and then you have all of these options. Then you click on transform, and as you can see here, it only opens the scale for the layer for this specific layer. If you're dealing with video files, here are my videos. If I unfold and I get the same thing, if I hit S, that's going to be for the scale. Great. If I want the position, I would hit P. My issue is that I want to open, in some cases, two channels, meaning both opacity and scale, for instance. So in this case, here's what you do. Opacity is T, okay? Now you hold down Shift and then hit S. When you hold down Shift, it's going to add to that specific channel unfolding, and it's going to add to it. So now if I hit, for instance, Shift and A, that's going to also unfold the anchor point. There you go. And to follow up on that, if you want to just fold all of them and you don't want to move the mouse all the way to one of these arrows, it's really good sometimes to do things using the keyboard. I would click one of the channels, like anchor point A. I find it to be really the easiest to click with my pinky finger, left hand finger. You hit A and then A again. So double click for any of these channels like P. The next one is going to be changing the color of your layers. So you can simply select on the color itself. You select the layer and then you click on the color itself, and then you could choose whichever color you want. So of course you can apply that on multiple ones together. You click here and then change to orange, and there you go. Now here's something else that you might find very useful. Let's say you're working on your scene and there are some materials that you need to have showing here, but you don't need them all the time, and sometimes you only need them for a specific part. Let's say you're doing lip sync and you're only dealing with the audio only when there's lip sync. So anytime the lip sync comes on your scene, you would need those, but you don't want to put them in a pre-composition and just organize them in a way that it would be a hassle just to pull them out. Instead, you're gonna go here and activate the shy feature. I have selected all of them and I have selected the shy feature. As you can see, it looks like head and nose and eyes, and you may see it to be reminiscent of Kilroy drawing or illustration. So now that they're marked as shy, I can simply, at any point where I want to hide them, I can just go into the shy right here and activate that. Last but not least, make sure you play at full resolution only when you want to preview the full resolution if you want to check before final renders. Otherwise, keep it at as low resolution as possible, just so it keeps playing the scene or the project as smoothly as possible. Really terrible at playing things in real time, so you want to be as gentle with it as possible. I have a lot more information about After Effects. I will provide in the description the link for my playlist of After Effects. But in the meantime, I'm sharing these tips specifically for dense projects.